Right, let's take a look very quickly now to see what's been happening on the local markets. The JSE ending the week positive, but only just. The weaker rand supported some miners and rand hedges. Heavyweight Naspers was 0.5% down, and that offsetted some positive moves from retailers today. Sentiment took a hit during the week on disappointing mining, manufacturing and retail sales data, so it leaves the oil share exactly where you see it, just about flat, barely in the positive. Mining shares, Goldfields falling a fraction into the negative after full-year results. More on that in a second. Platinum miners were pulled up by American, or rather Anglo-American. That share 1.5% up. As far as your commodity prices go, slight increase in the gold price today, 1,321. And Brent crude continues to climb as oil cartel OPEC cuts supply. And by the way, that $66.29 a barrel comes as the AA warns of a petrol price hike for us here locally next month. When we see what the rand was doing, well, we closed the week with the rand at 14.10 to the US dollar. It's lost about 3.5% against the US dollar for the week. Load shedding and concern about the pace of government's fiscal consolidation have weighed on the currency. So the dollar, or to the dollar, 14.10, to the euro, 15 rand 93, and this evening 18 rand 16 cents for a British pound. Well, from ENCA's business desk, Rofhiwa Madzena joins us now for a look at some of the market developments. I want to start with a Comair story, of course, reaching a settlement with SAA worth little than half their market capitalization. That's a lot of money.
That's right, Devon, and I think that's why the share price rallied at about 37% at some point today. I mean, it paired those gains and closed at around 21.9% at the end of the day. But the important thing here is that it's been fighting this battle for 14 years, back and forth appeals between itself and SAA. And what it was saying was that SAA was engaging in anti-competitive behavior because it was giving incentives to travel agents to preference SAA when making bookings. And this happened from about 1994 to 2005. So this 1.1 billion rand includes, it excludes legal costs, which they also have to pay, and really perhaps compensates Comair for profits that it would have been making if it was not engaging with SAA on an anti-competitive standing.
Of course, SAA has to pay, it has to get the money from somewhere. Ultimately, we as taxpayers might be able to fit that bill. Goldfields reporting an annual loss, and you look back and you see the amount of money they've been spending. One wonders or can see why that loss was so big.
Absolutely, Devon. Goldfields, I mean, it was the world's second biggest gold producer at some stage, one of the best miners in the world. And then it acquired South Deep Mine, a big investment in South Africa, but that mine has not been easy to maintain. So we see that the share price didn't really react much, and I think they priced it in. Yeah. Since it was bought over a decade ago, South Deep has really caused a lot of bleeding of that cash flow. So what they've done is they've restructured South Deep Mine, gotten rid of about 1,000 workers, and they're really trying to mechanize operations and really declutter that mine so that they're able to create that production. So they've lost about $1 billion in costs to keep the mine going, and in this restructuring process, Nick Holland, the chief executive, wrote in a note that they're hoping that production will increase. And of course, another issue is those strikes that have been plaguing the gold sector. They're hoping that they will be able to avoid those this year and increase production. But it wasn't all doom and gloom, because their operations in the likes of Australia and their investments in Ghana are really starting to bear fruit.
What wasn't doom and gloom was, of course, these figures from Pioneer Foods.
Yep.
Now, here you're looking at a sector, the retail sector, which hasn't had a great time of late, but I see Pioneer Foods actually going against that, doing well.
Really well. I mean, the share price rallied at around 7.8% at some stage today. They released a really positive trading update saying trading conditions, even though they are tough, they are expecting that they will be reporting higher profits for the period. So what we see here is that it's one of the companies that's particularly standing up, because we saw RCL Foods release its trading statement yesterday, and they say that the operating conditions, drought conditions, have been really tough. tough. So what we see here is that Pioneer Foods has been able to withstand that, and I think they priced this in with the previous droughts that we've seen. If you look at their trading statements, they really made contingency plans to make sure they would be able to maintain a profit even in the tougher trading environment.
And I see finally we've got some donut makers leaving the country, but I'm sure there's still enough sugar to go around in the country.
Well, there is. Grand Parade, very unfortunate, but I think we saw this coming. It's a very interesting company. They've gone through major restructuring in terms of executives. So activist shareholders late last year really kind of bust into the boardroom and said, we really want to shake up of management because you guys are just not pulling in the numbers. So the new CEO comes in and he did indicate that he would restructure the business, no job losses, but he would be getting rid of what they call non-core assets, and Dunkin' Donut and Baskin-Robbins, which are American brands, are. So they were not able to sell the businesses, so now they've decided to go for a voluntary liquidation process. And of course, we're going to be seeing some job losses there as all the stores close down. So we have the stores in Cape Town, 11 Dunkin' Donuts and 8 Baskin-Robbins, and all of those will be closing down. And I mean, they've incurred billions in terms of losses when it comes to the contribution or lack thereof of these companies. So they say now that they'll be focusing on Burger King and Spur. They've got some interests in gaming and casinos as well as manufacturing. So they're hoping that this move will turn around that balance sheet.
All right, thanks very much indeed, Rofhiwa Madzena. Thanks indeed.